Welcome to the City of Westminster Archives Centre, our purpose-built home for over 800 years of historical records. Opening in January 1995, the building has just celebrated its 25th anniversary, and we're delighted to take you on a tour around it today. Before the Archives Centre existed, the historic collections of Westminster, Marylebone and Paddington were housed in both Victoria Library and Marylebone Library. Though the modern City of Westminster had been around since 1965, the records had always lived apart. Their storage conditions no longer met modern standards, and the collection needed more room to grow. A new home for the archives was needed. As well as better storage conditions, a new site would enable the service to proactively care for the collections and run on-site education and outreach sessions for school groups and the community. The site of a former baths and laundry was chosen for this new building, and work began in St Anne Street, Westminster. The construction of the Archives Centre was no easy task. It had a lot to achieve in a relatively small space. Designed by the architect Tim Druitt, it cost a total of £3.2 million. Costain were the main contractors, and after 17.5 months of work, the centre was completed in December 1994. The Archives Centre has 6.5 floors. Within this are specialist storage areas, a conservation studio, offices, a public search room and meeting facilities. It is now also home to the Express Library. In total it has a floor space of 2,136.7 square metres and is made of 80,000 bricks. The team moved the records into their new home across 3 weeks at Christmas in 1994. On the 16th of January 1995, the Lord Mayor, Councillor Angela Hooper, visited to officially open the building and commemorated the occasion by planting a ginkgo tree in the drive. 2 months later, HRH the Duke of Gloucester came to unveil the stained glass window in the search room.
The search room is where our researchers come to access our collections. The furniture was specially designed by the architect so that the tables could accommodate large volumes and plans with ease. It's just under 259 square metres, and the windows have UV filters to protect the documents and books inside from light damage.
We also hold numerous records on microfilm and microfiche, including the General Register Office's records of births, marriages and deaths, street directories, local newspapers and parish records.
This beautiful stained glass window was designed by Jane Campbell. She won a competition to have her work permanently housed at the Archive Centre, and her design is the perfect tribute to the history of the area. The glass is hand-blown and acid-etched to fade the colours into each other. Some of the features were sandblasted, and images photographically silk screen printed or hand-painted before being fired. The design features key people, places and events, using images taken directly from our collections. Highlights include a nod to the Royal Parks, which includes a 1662 drawing of St James's Park, Henry III discussing the rebuilding of Westminster Abbey taken from a 13th century manuscript, the Royal Albert Hall and the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, which mark the most westerly and easterly performance venues of the city, the London Central Mosque in Regent's Park, and the rose and portcullis detail of Big Ben. There are 3 notable figures also here, depicting the 3 boroughs of the modern city. These are the Prime Minister and Westminster resident Winston Churchill, Marylebone cricketer W.G. Grace, and engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who created Paddington Station.
In our 3 purpose-built strong rooms we have thousands upon thousands of records being kept safe. Each room was designed to meet the then standard for archival storage, BS 5454-2000. The rooms are fully air-conditioned, so they are kept at a cool 16 to 19 degrees C with a relative humidity of 45 to 60%. These are the ideal conditions for paper in order to keep them stable. Each floor has its own separate air handling unit to keep the conditions under control. When we moved to the building, the collection had to be completely rearranged to make sure that all the materials were on the best shelf for their size. It was a huge mathematical challenge for the staff to recalculate what would fit where. The final cost of removal of the collection alone came to £28,474.
The Archives holds over 800 years of documented history for the Westminster area. This is the oldest item in our collection. It dates from 1256 and is a Latin patent from King Henry II, granting permission for a market to be held on Top Hill Fields. We don't have a huge number of records this old in our collection, but the ones that we do have are incredibly important, and we're incredibly thankful it survived and is in such good condition. Lots of other records we have are parish records. These are incredibly important as they document the way the area was managed before the existence of a local council. This record from 1695 is a parish record, and it's recording the young people who were apprenticed out to workmen and craftsmen to learn a trade. Here we've got a list of the names of the people who were apprenticed out in this instance. As we can see, there are quite a number of them. They were apprenticed out to both local workmen and tradesmen, but we also have accounts of people being sent all over the country in order to learn their trade from a skilled person. We have some wonderful prints collections here at Westminster, and amongst them they document some of the more interesting and less well-known bits of our history. These in particular are some of my favourite prints, which are designs that were submitted as part of a competition for the creation of Trafalgar Square. As we can see, there were lots of different designs put forward, and some of these you can almost imagine what Trafalgar Square would have been like if they had won the competition. This design in particular down here shows a very similar idea to Nelson's column, which is in place now, but it's far, far shorter, and it wouldn't have had the same impact as the current monument does today. We have some very important collections of personal papers, including those of Octavia Hill. Now, it's a name you may recognise, as she's most well known for being one of the founders of the National Trust, and she was also a Marylebone resident. But from a local point of view, her greatest achievement for us was her campaigning and her work she did towards improving the living conditions for the working poor. She created a block of flats that people could live in to a much better standard than some of the slums that they were currently living in Marylebone. She created a system where it operated as a business, and all the rents had to be paid on time, and the profits were plunged back into better social housing for more people. It was an incredible success, and she, with her business partner, created many different housing complexes across the Marylebone area, bettering the living conditions for so many people. In our collections, we also hold a really significant collection of theatre programmes and playbills. Our earliest programmes date from the 1850s, and we've got them covering some of the most impressive and interesting West End shows that took place over the last 150 plus years. One of my favourites is My Fair Lady, which previewed at Drury Lane. Now, it was performed at Drury Lane many a time, and we've got lots of programmes from all different performances. One of my favourites is this one from 1958, as it stars Julie Andrews and Rex Harrison, who obviously were big names in the acting world. We're also incredibly lucky that Westminster kept incredibly good records during the World War II of the Blitz and the impact it had on the local area. We have a huge collection of these, which are the incident reports from the bombs that fell across London during this time. This is an example from St James's Church and an incident when a bomb fell on it on the 14th of the 10th, 1940. Each incident is given its own serial number, and it's recorded in great detail what happened at the time when the bomb fell. So we can see here that the type of bomb is a high explosive, and as this record was filled out at the time the incident was being called through, it's incredible how much detail we get, such as they already knew that there were 3 casualties trapped in the wreckage and that there was a fire taking place on the wreckage. We then get lists here of the different vehicles that were sent out from the different parts of Westminster, from the different parties and ambulance stations and things like that, so we know exactly who attended the incident. And on the reverse side of the report, we can also see when different services were called out, such as the gas board, to come and look at the damage that was done. Now, accompanying some of these reports, we've got these photo albums. They had taken pictures of the damage, and we can see here a photograph of St James's Church, Piccadilly, which shows the amount of damage that was done to the roof, presumably by the fire and the bomb that caused it. One of my favourite things about the collections is some of the social collections that we've got. Included in this are photographs, memories and personal accounts of lots of community-driven activities and events that happened across Westminster throughout history. The photos I've got out today here are from the Soho Festival, which was an annual festival which celebrated all the best things about Soho, and it included lots of music and theatrics and performances and art for the people of Soho to all come together and share together. I love the photographs because they just give off a sense of real excitement and that a really great time was had. These photographs in particular come from 1955.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Conservation Studio. My name is Georgia Vosu and I'm the Conservator of Westminster Archives. Today, with the help of a few of my invaluable volunteers, we'll give you a taster of our activities here in the Conservation Studio. Volunteers also are helping me to prepare exhibitions and community engagement programs with the aim to open accessibility of our collections.
What I've done first is to dry clean the documents using a dry sponge and brush, and then gone through and I've removed all the metal staples. These cause problems when they rust. And then where documents have been stapled together, having removed the staples, restitching them using bookbinder's thread.
It's a glue-free box to protect a leather-bound book which is too damaged for repair for the time being, and it's part of an ongoing project of protecting such books in handmade boxes. Vanilla paper is an acid-free paper, so that will ensure proper protection of such books for future generations.
The term conservation refers to the treatment of materials in order to stabilize them physically as long as possible in their original form, while the term preservation refers to the broader activity of collections care associated with maintaining materials. Our conservation and preservation projects is based on the following principles. All materials must be of archival standards. All repairs must be reversible and respect the integrity of the original objects. No repairs should conceal documentary evidence or attempt to restore any missing information. The causes of damage to archival objects are varied and complex. All paper collections tend to natural deterioration over time, but they can also further deteriorate or be destroyed by several interrelated factors such as unstable environmental conditions, acidity, light, pollution, biological enemies, poor handling and storage, theft, fire and flood. We follow the highest standards with the ultimate commitment of keeping the collections open and accessible.
We hope you've enjoyed a look behind the scenes at the Archives Centre and that you feel inspired to start some research for yourself. You can find out more about our collections in lots of different ways. Our catalogue and details about our service can be found at www.westminster.gov.uk/archives. You can follow us on Facebook at westminster.archives, and we have a wonderful selection of images online which can be found through our Flickr albums.